Thank you for tuning into Bethel, BHG TV. Like, share, and subscribe. Now our host, Pastor Johnson.
All right. Keep coming in. Keep coming in. Keep coming in. Shout out. All right, people. All right. All right. I see you coming. I see you coming. I see you all coming. Absolutely. I see you coming. All right, all right. Shout out to Noel Berry, first in our chat room tonight. Shout out to Brother Tyrone Hunter, first on Facebook. Shout out to both of them. It's good to know that we're on the Facebook site, and the only way I know it is when I see somebody come in on Facebook. So thank you, Brother Hunter, for coming in and getting into the chat room. A lot of times we're online, but a lot of people do not like going into the chat room. And I can understand that too. Not everybody wants to be inside the chat room. Not everybody is a chat room person. So that's completely understandable. But thank you all for coming in. I see Sister Paula coming in on the Facebook side. Shout out to Sister Paula. Facebook is big in the house tonight. Shout out to Facebook. Eric Jackson coming in on the Facebook side. Oh, this is good. This is awesome. I'm going to make this, this is a very informative session because I know that like me, a lot of people like tuning in to come on in the room, which will be coming on in about 20 minutes or so. But I'm going to get right into the scripture reading and get right into the crux of this subject that we put up. It won't be long, but it's information that you're going to need to know. Information you're going to need to know. Psalms 111, verse 10, without any hesitation, it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments." So brothers and sisters, let me tell you what sparked this subject tonight. And it's talking about how the calendar changed, but not the days, number of the days in the week. Let me tell you what happens. What happens in this is this. Whenever you start to teach people about the 7-day Sabbath, the first thing they'll say, well, we really don't know what day to go on because man changed the calendar. So we don't know what day of the week is the real Sabbath because the calendar was changed. And if you don't understand, you can almost fall into that, into the excuse that they give, if you don't know. And a lot of times people don't know how to deal with that. So I'm going to show you tonight how to deal with that. It is true. It is true that the calendar did change, but the days of the week did not change. There's always been 7 days in a week. Now let's make this point. We know that the days of the week have names that was applied to the numerical names. For instance, it went by day 1, day 2, or first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. And then it only went to 7 days, and then it would go back to day 1. And it would start back over, and when you got to 7 days, it would start back over. We do know, according to the scriptures, that the Lord rested the Sabbath day and decided, listen, this is the day that we're going to keep holy. I'm going to rest from all the works. This is the day that he sanctified. The issue is that when you tell people that you observe the Lord's Sabbath, and we need to start learning to say, I observe the Lord's Sabbath. Because when people feel like there's a choice or you got options, we're going to kill all of that this year. There is no options. The 7th day is the Sabbath. There is no other day. There's only one day the Lord sanctified and one day that the Lord blessed. But let's deal with this calendar issue that they often throw up and say the calendar was changed. And brothers and sisters, guess what? The calendar was changed. But let's look at this for a second. Let's deal with this for a second. Here's what happened to the calendar, because the calendar did change. This is what happened to the calendar. This is dealing with the Gregorian calendar. That's the calendar that we use today. This information came from the Encyclopedia of the Britannica, and you can get this information there. But let me just give it to you. The Julian calendar was before the Britannica calendar. But before the Julian calendar, there was the Roman Republican calendar. So the Roman Republican calendar had some issues. So when Julius Caesar, that's where the word Julian calendar came from, he changed the calendar to try to correct some of the errors that was in the old calendar, the Roman calendar. When Gregory came on board, that's where the Gregorian calendar name comes from, he corrected what the Julian calendar could not do. So let's see how this works. So when it comes to calendar, small errors add up over time. The Julian calendar was the prevailing calendar in the Christian world. That was during the first millennium and also part of the second millennium. So that is what happened at that point in time. And it was the Julian calendar was put in place to improve the Roman calendar. Okay? The Roman calendar really came from the Babylonian era of time. So basically what happened, brothers and sisters, the calendar, the most surreal part of implementing the new calendar, that came in the year 1582. It was in the month of October, when 10 days were dropped from the calendar to bring the vernal equinox from March 11 back to March the 21st, because the equinox is really when the spring equinox is really when the new year begins. That's really when the spring season comes. And in fact, March used to be the new year. But when Rome got in charge, because you know Rome is the fourth beast. It's the fourth beast that Daniel saw coming up out of the earth that's in charge now. That's a different lesson at a different time. However, in 1582, they realized that they had to do something. They picked the month of the month of October, because they said there's no festivities that we have to throw off, that we have to change the dates. So let's just make it in October, because there is nothing taking place. So we can do that, and it will skip most of the major Christian festivities. So that's what they decided to do. All right? But what is the Republican calendar that Julius Caesar moved away from? And let me just go there and let me bring that up right now, the Julian calendar. The Republican calendar. The Republican calendar, not counter, excuse my speech. The Republican calendar, it was a dating system that it involved in Rome prior to the Christian era. Because remember, Babylon was defeated by Persia, Persia was defeated by Greece, and Greece was defeated by Rome. So most people that's in charge, they put in their own system. So the Rome Republican calendar was before the Christian era. And according to legend, Romulus, the founder of Rome, instituted the calendar. Look how long ago that was. In 738 BC. That's a long time ago. That calendar was put in place, brothers and sisters. 738 BC. The dating system, however, was probably a product of evolution from the Greek. Why do we say it's an evolution and probably from the Greek? Because Rome defeated Greece. So the original calendar, the original Rome calendar, you're not going to believe this, but that calendar, brothers and sisters, only had 10 months in it. And that's why things, when you try to make things equal with 10 in a full circle, you can't do it. Because there's 360 degrees in a complete circle. So with 12 months before Rome messed it up and put in 10 months, when it was on a 12th month, 30 days was in each month. So 12 times 30 is 360 degrees. So Rome messed it up in about 738 BC. And the original Roman calendar appears to have, listen to this, consisted of only 10 months, 304 days in a year. The remaining 61 and a quarter days were apparently just ignored. They just ignored it. So the months bore the names, check this out, Martius, Aprilis, Maius, Junius, Quintilis, Sextus, September, October, November, and December. The last 6 names corresponding to the Latin words for numbers 5 through 10. That's why this is 7, 8, 9, and 10, because we did that the other day, showing you what deca meant, and the fact that the word oct comes from 8. So the Roman ruler by the name of Numa Pompilius is credited with adding January at the beginning and February at the end of the calendar to create a 12-month year. But it wasn't until 452 BC February was moved between January and March. So you had January, February, March. All right. So what happens next? It was in the first century that the Roman calendar had become hopelessly confused. They said, listen, this thing is not working. That's the Roman calendar. So who comes next? This guy right here, Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar turns around and tries to correct it. And that's how we came up with the Julian calendar when they're trying to add these days back. So the year then was divided back into 12 months, all right? All of which had either 30 or 31 days except for February, which contained 28 days. So therefore, they came with the 365 day. You would think that somebody somewhere would realize that there's 360 degrees in a circle, but that's neither that. So what did they do? They presented what they call a papal bull. A papal bull. A papal bull in Roman Catholicism is an official papal letter or document, and it's basically just policy. So they issued policy coming from the Pope that most of the Christian countries would follow this new dating system coming out of Rome. Gregory the 13th is where the Gregorian calendar came from. And he was the Pope from 1572 to 1585. And what he did was, here's some information about him, where he was educated and what have you. But in 1572, that's when they said, when he came into power, 1572. But in 1582, 3 years before he died, they instituted the Gregorian calendar. Now, I said at the beginning, they changed the calendar, but not the days of the week. So here's how it rolled out, brothers and sisters, just like this in 1582. In 1582, they needed to add 10 days to the calendar. So in October of 1582, the first of the month was on a Monday, the second was on the second was on a Tuesday, so forth. When it got to Friday, instead of it being the 5th, they did not change Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, also regularly known as the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. They didn't mess with the days of the week. Although we know that these names are coming from pagan names, but they didn't change. This is still assigned to day 1. This is assigned to day 2. And it's always been 7 days in this week. Back then, it's always been that. So what they did on a Thursday is the 4th. The next day would have been the 5th, but they added a 1 in front of it to make it the 15th. So on Thursday in October of 1582, it was the 4th. The very next day, instead of being the 15th or the 5th, it became the 15th. And that's what happened. In fact, This is what the calendar looked like at that time, because they switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So in October, this was a sample of what the calendar looked like. It said Julian, and then on this side it said Gregorian. This came from Julius Caesar, and this came from Pope Gregory. So on the 4th of October, falling on the 6th day of the week, called Thursday, on the very next day being this is the 5th day of the week, Thursday. It was on the 4th. The very next day being the 6th day of the week, commonly called Friday, they made it the 15th. And brothers and sisters, that's how things went down. That's how it all spread. And that's why I wanted to do a little something tonight titled The Calendar Change, but not the days of the week. The days of the week did not change. So when people say, we don't know when the Sabbath was because they messed up this calendar, okay, they never messed with day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, day 7. What they did was when Babylon was defeated by the Persians and the Persians were defeated by the Greeks came in and made it a 10-month year because they in charge. That's it. The Lord told you that they were going to be in charge. That's why he told Nebuchadnezzar, you're going to be the first kingdom, then there's going to be a kingdom come after you, and a third and a fourth. Greek was the third kingdom. And what they did was they changed the system because they in charge. That's what they did. They changed the system. So when Rome got in charge, Julius Caesar knew this thing is messed up. It's messed up. This Roman calendar that was put in place going back to 700-something BC, 700-something BC, we got to change it. And he did. But even that was not perfect when he brought it back. So Gregory comes, and that's how we go from the Julian calendar to the Gregory calendar. And the Gregorian calendar, all that happened was, again, not to be redundant so much, but day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. On day 5 in October, it's the 4th of the month. All they did the very next day, on a Friday, instead of it being the 5th, they added a 1 to it. But everything else stayed the same. So you see, brothers and sisters, you'll have this video. You can come back and look at it. And I went through the slides very quickly, but I left them up where you can read them and go back and look at them again. The sources there, the Britannica, and you can see it all. So I just wanted to leave that with you tonight. And shout out to everybody in the chat room. Let's go over there and take a look since you all took the time to come in. Shout out to Brother Julius in the house. Great teacher here, the Ezra of God. Dean Furlow, Sister Kimberly Whitaker in the house. And I saw Sister Chiruta. Thank you, Sister Chiruta. Brother David East, another moderator. David DeLanner. Brian Johnson, my brother from another mother down at Homestead, Florida. Just Reese. Eric Jackson. Paula Smith, Tyrone Hunter, and Noel Berry. Thank you all for coming into the chat room. All of you all that are tuned in but not in the chat room, thank you all for coming in today for this very, very short lesson. Come on in the room. It's getting ready to come on. Go over there and tune in. Just put in come on, C-MON in my room. Check out Elder Melvin and those guys. All that being said, brothers and sisters, peace and blessings to you. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless you.